Hi, everyone, and welcome to my interview with Sara Lundberg, the author and illustrator of The Bird Within Me. It was written in Swedish and translated into English by B.J. Epstein. It was published by us, Book Island, and co-funded by Creative Europe. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me from your studio in Sweden. Sara, I'm so proud to be the UK publisher of The Bird Within Me. It won many awards in Sweden, and here in the UK it was shortlisted for the very prestigious Kate Greenaway Medal, which is one of the most important children's awards here. The book is about a young girl. Her name was Berta, and she grew up on a farm in the north of Sweden in the 1920s. What is this book about exactly? What are the main themes?
Well, it's about the courage to follow your dream. Berta wants to be an artist, and she feels that from a very early age, and it's not accepted in the time she grows up and in the village. She's expected to do what other people have done in her. Being a girl, she takes care of the home and the animals and the children and marry someone in the village. But she wants to follow her heart and follow her dream. And it's about having the courage to be different and figuring out who you want to be.
Very important. What inspired you to write about Berta Hansson?
My publisher went to an art exhibit with Berta Hansson's paintings, and she and I had discussed for quite some time to do a project together. And when she saw the paintings of Berta Hansson, she thought, why not make something that has to do with Berta Hansson's life? And I didn't know. Berta Hansson is one of those artists who has been forgotten. Many female artists sort of disappear in history. They don't teach about her, and it's very common that happens. So I did not know anything about Berta. When my publisher recommended her to me, I read all I could read about her. I looked at her paintings, and what I felt was that I felt I recognized myself in her, but I also recognized my grandmother in Berta. My grandmother grew up in the same in the north of Sweden, in the same kind of born the same year, and in a farming village, and she was expected to follow the tradition and become a housewife and stuff like that. And when I grew up, my mother always talked about my grandmother and always said, what would have happened to grandma if she had been allowed to study? So here I am with a woman, Berta Hansson, who is born the same year as my grandmother, who could have been my grandmother, actually. Who did study, who did go against the grain and went for it. And for me, I was so curious to go into the fantasy of how that must have been at that time in this country. So that was sort of a spark for me to this feeling of I can write about this because I've thought about it so much growing up.
What kind of paintings did she make? Shall we have a quick look?
Yes.
I'll share my screen, and we can see her work. And we'll start with this photo of her, which was taken when she was in her 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like she was having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at one of her paintings. We know this one, don't we, from the book?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this particular painting?
Yeah, she became a teacher first before she went into having an art career. And while being a teacher, which she was for 10 years, she painted her students. And she's most famous actually for the paintings of her students. They would sit in the classroom and work on their own, and she would always draw them or paint them, and then she would go home to her apartment and make bigger paintings of her studies during the day. So that's one of her students.
That's amazing. Let's
Mm.
have a look at what else she painted.
Yeah, she was very fond of cows, and this particular this cow is white and has sort of black dots on the sides uh, of its body. This is a typical jämtländsk cow, northern cow, fjällko. That's the Swedish name for it, fjällko. And since her father was a farmer, he had cows. So this she grew up with cows and had a special relationship with cows.
Yes, and you've integrated the included this cow in your book, so everyone who's read the book will immediately recognize this image.
Yeah, she felt cows were so kind and accepting to her personality.
Oh, so here's another. This is a drawing.
Yeah, she was fascinated with people and their destiny and how the lives of the people in her village. So she would draw and make portraits, paint or draw the old people in her hometown. And she was particularly, you can see this in the painting, that the hands are sort of exaggerated. And that is a trait she has, like most of her painting, especially of old people, the hands are, you can see that she put a lot of emphasis on the hands. And she felt that hands told the story of a human being as much as the face.
Yes. Okay. Here we come to the birds.
Yeah, she didn't make any self portraits, which is kind of strange because most artists do examine their own face and make at least a few self portraits. When I was visiting her studio, where all her paintings, well, the ones that are not sold, are kept, we talked about this, and um, she did have a few self-portraits as a bird. Like she made her own, she made her persona as a bird, and that was something that she always kept within her, the bird. It's in her writing, it's in her painting, and as she grew older, her sight, she became blind actually by the end of her life. Yeah, and so by the end of her life, she only painted birds, and quite simple, almost abstract birds.
And this was her last painting, and we can see her initials
Yeah,
in every painting.
yeah,
BH, Berta Hansson.
the age. Yeah.
Yes. A question that I think you've been asked a lot is whether your book is a true account of her childhood.
All the events that are taking place in the book have happened in Berta's life. When I decided to make the book, I talked to she has her sister's daughter who is taking care of the whole thing. That's the family, so that's the person I spoke with, Birgitta. And I said I would like to not make this a biography, which means I don't want to have to feel forced to stick to the truth, which means that it's the story. Everything that's in this book has happened to Berta Hansson, but maybe not in the same order. I wanted to feel free to create this book in the way so the dramaturgy would work. And the family was fine with that. I also added a character. I added the doctor because the family or Birgitta couldn't tell me, because I asked, was there a doctor in the village who examined and she couldn't tell because Birgitta, her family, they only knew Berta as a grown-up. So there was very few accounts on exactness, like was there a doctor in the village? We don't know. How was the school? How was the teacher? So I did have to use my imagination also when writing this story, and pick from my own life, and also pick from my grandmother. Actually, I have to show you this this image where when the mother has died and she goes into the stables, do you call it stables? Yeah, where the cows are, and she hugs the cow to get comfort after the mother has died. That was my grandmother told me that story about her life. And I thought it was so beautiful. And I've heard so many old people that grew up in a farm that didn't sort of get hugs from their parents.
Oh,
they went into the cows and
the lambs and the sheep and
yes, because
so touching.
Yes, and Berta had that kind of relationship with the cows. So I would imagine that she walked in to get comfort from the cows.
Oh, that's beautiful. Sara, for this interview, we've received some very interesting questions from a primary school in England in Weston-on-Trent. It's Weston-on-Trent Primary.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a first question here for you from Daisy May. Her question is, how exactly did you plan your book?
Good question. I planned it first. I wrote scene without really knowing the dramaturgy, how the story would go. I started with writing scene from Berta's life that I felt had a lot in them and was interesting. And when I had written all kinds of different scenes, like, almost like a puzzle, pieces of a puzzle, I started putting the puzzle together, putting the scenes next to each other, moving them around to see how the story would go.
So yes, planning is very important, I guess.
Yes, but I think for me, first is to not have a plan, but just to be inspired and feel free to just write scenes. Some scenes were taken away, and so I think it's the first process, the first part of the process is to just let it flow, and then you can start organizing.
Which sources did you use while working on this planning?
I did a lot of research about her life. I read her book. This is her own book, her own writing. This is actually a published diary.
Okay.
It's called My Kids. So she wrote this as a grown-up.
Diary from a primary school. Is that what it says? My Kids.
Yeah, diary from the village school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you open the book and show us a few pages?
Yeah, this is her paintings from her students. So these are very like sketchy watercolors.
Yeah. Well, the children must have loved that, to have a teacher just watching them and sketching and painting them.
I think they did.
What happened to those paintings?
Most of them are sold. Some have been collected by museums. Yeah,
that's such a wonderful resource for you to have.
Yes, and when she wrote this book, when she was a teacher, she was not an established artist. She was in the beginning of her art career, and she was way up in the north of Sweden. And she wrote a diary, and she made all these studies of these children.
Wow.
And in this book, there is a scene when she's standing outside the doctor's house looking in at the doctor's paintings.
Yes, yes, yes.
That actually happened, but as a grown-up. As a grown-up in this village, when she was a teacher, she was so much longing to become the artist that she desired to become. And there was a doctor in this village that was collecting. He was an art collector also. And she was standing outside his house, looking in through the window, feeling like ashamed that she was doing this, and nobody saw her. But looking at his paintings and being so amazed at all this beautiful artwork that he had collected. And I love that image. So I put it in here as a child, as you know.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Sara, you were both the author and the illustrator of this book. Were there advantages of doing it that way?
Well, the advantage is that you can decide what should be in the image, what should be in the text, how should they marry, so that you bring out the emotion and the feeling and the story and the drama. I think it's to be the illustrator and the writer of a book means much more time consuming. It takes more time because there's so many choices to make, but you also have control of the process, and it becomes, it's your own work. It's everything comes from the inside of you.
Was there anyone who helped you with deciding, making decisions?
Well, I had meetings with my publisher maybe like once a month or every other month or something like that. It took 2 years to create the book, so we did have a lot of meetings, and she's a good person to discuss story and also image text with.
Now this brings us to the next question from Western on Trend Primary, question from Daisy about the artwork. Did you use digital art, or is the book entirely hand-drawn?
It's hand-drawn, hand-painted, I would say to 98%.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened with the other 2%?
Well, there's some collages I can show you that I put together in Photoshop, like this, for example, this spread.
Okay.
Yeah, the girls I painted on a separate sheet. I made the wallpaper on a separate sheet and put them together in Photoshop.
So they're different layers.
Yeah, it's different layers, but everything is hand drawn, but then put together in Photoshop. So I never made anything from scratch in Photoshop.
So you scanned the originals, and then in Photoshop you layer them, and you can move them around until you're happy.
Exactly.
So how do you do this? Do you make a lot of roughs first? How do you start?
No, I don't make a lot of roughs. I make very few sketches. I can show you some, and they're usually, I try not to be a good drawer. I'm a bit sloppy, and intentionally sloppy, so that I don't get stuck. I mean, it's feel almost awkward to show this because it's like I'm this sloppy. So that I don't, it's important for me when I'm making an artwork to not be good, not to try to be good. It's important to just let out what wants. It's important to get out of the way, that I should get out of the way so that the artwork can become. You know what I mean? Don't try to make anything good, because it's gonna look, for me at least, I can see when I'm trying to be good at something, then there's a stiffness in there.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Maybe something to keep in mind, for all the future illustrators and authors watching today.
Absolutely.
Don't have to be perfect. Just let it flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that creativity flow. What techniques do you use?
For this book I use watercolor and gouache. Gouache is I buy them in a small tube.
Mm-hmm.
I also get my watercolors in a tube, so I put them out on a. Show you this. My watercolors I put in little small plates like this.
Yes.
And gouache is more almost like acrylic, but not plastic like acrylic.
Mm.
Gouache you can always wash away if you're not happy with it. You can wash it away and then start all over again.
Mm.
And here I have my watercolor palette.
Mm.
And all kinds of brushes in all kinds of sizes. I make collages sometimes too, cut and paste.
Mm. I can see a lot of interesting objects in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I can see a saw there.
Yes. I didn't use the saw for this particular book, but
Can you give us a brief tour of the studio?
absolutely.
So
In the background we have my books, and then here I have my little corner of I do work. I do woodwork. I make wood sculptures.
Mm.
So sometimes I need to work with my hands like that. I'll give you a tour here. So I have a sofa. Can you see the sofa? If I need to relax. And on the floor you see my wood pieces. I haven't started working on them yet. And I have a lovely window. I have one window, which is very nice, and it's in the south, so there's a lot of light coming in. Some paintings. Here's my wood.
Your branch collection from the
my branch collection, exactly. I've started on a piece there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And here I have my
Oh, is that where you archive?
Yes,
your work.
Exactly.
Mm. Well, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
You've drawn a lot of different characters for the book.
Mm-hmm.
Berta, her family members, and other people, the children at her school. Do you draw them from memory?
No, when it comes to Berta, the character of Berta, I decided to use a live model, which I do sometimes, quite often actually, when I make books. I like a live model and especially for this book, especially because she was 13, 14, going on into puberty. And my daughter was 13 at the time when I made the book, and she was the perfect model for this character. So I had her play the role of Berta and took a lot of pictures. So I used actually the photos of my daughter to make Berta.
Can I share those photos?
Absolutely, yes.
So that was the bird that we were looking at, which was Berta's last painting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a look at the model.
Yes, I had her climb trees.
Well, not very high.
No.
This is your daughter Ella.
Yes.
Let's see what this looks like in the book. So quite interesting how you've actually flipped, or the publisher flipped the image.
No, well, yeah, it's interesting. Usually um, yeah, that has to do with the story too. How what how the character is pointing its nose, and it's important. Like, for imagine if this image would be in the other direction, it wouldn't be inviting to open the book. So it's important how you point the character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at a few more photos of Ella.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of us will know exactly where that where where that is that picture is in the book. So
Yeah.
it's here's Berta
Yeah.
collecting clay, the blue
Yes.
clay from the gully. Again,
Mhm.
it's flipped. Um,
Mhm.
I'll show you some pictures in the book later on. It also depends on where this image is in the book, because
Yeah.
there's always 2 pages, and I guess in this case Berta was looking towards the gutter, the middle of the book, so she
Yeah.
had to be flipped, otherwise she would be looking out of the book.
Yeah. Yes.
So let's have a look at, oh, here's Ella in her bedroom again.
Oh, do you notice the cover of the bed also? I used the
Of
roses.
course.
Yeah.
Yes, so when she's in the bedroom with her
Mhm.
mom.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's Berta in the church,
Yeah.
fiddling with her hair, and
Mhm.
her dad. But for her dad, he used somebody else, didn't you? As a
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
Who's this? I
This
recognize
is,
this video.
his name is Fredrik. He's an artist. Fredrik Söderberg. He works. He has a studio next door and is a very, very good painter himself,
And a good model too.
and a good model for the father. Yes.
Great. Again, those hands which are prominent in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Ella and her friend, which we've seen. You've just shown actually that picture, haven't you?
Mhm. Yeah.
The illustration in the book where you have Berta with her older sister.
Mhm.
And I think
Yes. So as you can see here,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not I'm not trying to make it portrait like. I like to use the live model so that I can see how the shadows in the faces, to get the skin, a feeling of skin, and also a feeling of body, like that there is flesh and meat and body
Mm.
in there. You know what I mean?
And also the hair, which
The
is
hair.
like,
Yeah.
must be very difficult to paint.
Yes. Yeah. And hands are
The
different.
hands and the carrots,
Hmm.
what that looks like in the book. Yes,
Mm.
beautiful. Okay.
So from the photo, you always have to add, like, you use what you need from the photo, and then you just take it and do your own thing with it.
Mm.
That's how I work.
So this is Ella again, I suppose.
No, this is actually a picture I found on the internet.
Okay.
I really don't know who is hugging the cow.
It seems to be quite common in Sweden to hug cows.
It is.
I think
Yeah.
we should introduce it here in the UK too. So this is another picture which I actually took when I visited you in
Mhm.
Stockholm, because I realized that I knew this armchair from somewhere,
Yeah.
and this was your beloved cat who
Yeah.
died in summer.
Yeah.
Sadly. Sarah, when do you know when your book is finished?
Well, it's always difficult to know for yourself when an artwork is finished or when the text is finished. So that's why it's always helpful to have a publisher that reads through, and you read it together and you discuss it, and you also have a date when it has to be finished,
Mm.
because it has to be printed.
Mm.
So with the help of a publisher, you finish it.
What response did the book get in Sweden?
It got an enormous response, overwhelming, when it was published. It was in the fall of 2017, and quite soon after that, it was nominated for the August Prize. and then in November it got the prize. And after that, this prize, this literature prize, is the most well-known prize in Sweden. Everybody knows about it.
I'm going to show your photo. Look
Yeah.
at you. Like you're receiving the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Yeah.
It must have been a very special moment and a great honor.
Yes.
To receive this prize.
Yeah, it was. And also because the prize is most people in Sweden know of the prize. So it's really you reach out to most Swedes, actually.
Yes, to everybody. And then, of course, the rest of the world hears about it too. Like that's how I found out about you. I've been reading The Bird Within Me in Sweden. Actually, I'll show you. I don't think we've shown this yet. So this is the Swedish edition. Can you read the title in Swedish?
Fågeln i mig flyger vart den vill.
Okay, and what's the translation of that?
The bird within me flies wherever it wants. So it's quite a long title. It's actually a quote from Berta Hansson herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We kept it a bit shorter, but felt it would flow better, and I agreed with her. So in Sweden, it's been read by lots of children, but also adults. It's been 100 years since Berta Hansson was born. Do you feel that enough has changed for girls in the past century?
Well, if you look in Sweden, and I don't know how it is in Great Britain, but I think many Western countries, lots of things have happened. There's been, for the past 100 years, women can vote. We're part of the democracy. There's equality in Sweden. They really work on finding equality, creating equality between men and women. There's still work to be done. But if I compare my childhood or my teenage years when I was figuring out what I would do with my life compared to Berta Hansson, my parents, I wanted to be an artist. I knew from the age of 7 I wanted to be an artist. And my parents never said, no, that's too difficult. You can't do that. My parents were always supportive. Follow your heart, do what you feel like doing. You can do whatever you want. You can become a doctor, a lawyer, an artist, a journalist, whatever you want to do, go for it. Whereas, if you were a woman born in the beginning of the century, it wasn't possible.
No.
So lots of things have changed, I think. But I have to add that also a reason why I wanted to make the story and really dive into the destiny of Berta Hansson was because she had the guts to take the first steps. So the steps before, I would not have been in this room and worked with what I work with if it hadn't been for the women that went ahead of me.
The pioneers.
The pioneers. So I'm very grateful towards Berta Hansson.
Well, I think Berta Hansson would have been very proud and honored to know that thanks to you, children and adults all around the world have been reading about her childhood.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sara, on behalf of Berta Hansson and myself and all the readers for this amazing book and for sharing your creative journey with us. Thank you. Tusen tack, as you say in Swedish.
Tusen tack.
Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed my interview with Sara Lundberg, I would like to invite you to the very short creative challenge that Sara has created for you. It's on our website, bookguided.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Bye.